If you've lived with insomnia for a long period of time, it's quite likely that you're putting more effort into sleep than you did when you used to sleep well. And it's quite likely that you're engaging in safety behaviours to help protect you from the consequences of poor sleep. Unfortunately, sleep efforts and safety behaviours actually make sleep more difficult. And this is what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Hi, I'm Martin Reed. If you have insomnia, I offer sleep coaching programs that will give you all the skills and support you need to enjoy better sleep for the rest of your life. You can learn more at insomniacoach.com. Now, it's completely normal and natural to put effort into solving a problem. After all, almost everything in life responds positively to effort. If we're failing a class at school and put more effort into studying, we're more likely to pass and get a good grade. If we fail our driving test, we might take some more lessons to improve our driving skills and increase the likelihood that we'll pass next time around. If we're trying to lose weight but miss our initial goal, we might decide to exercise more regularly to help us reach that goal. Unfortunately, sleep is probably the only thing in life that doesn't respond positively to effort. In fact, the more effort we put into sleep, the more difficult sleep becomes. That's because sleep is a core biological mechanism. Sleep is not something we can control, and sleep is not an ability we can ever lose. Since it's not an ability, it's not something we need to develop a skill in, and it's not something that responds positively to effort. When we've been awake for long enough, we will always sleep. Now, it's important to note that sleep effort isn't just the mental effort of actively trying to sleep. Our behaviours can be sleep efforts too. Anything we do with the specific goal of generating sleep is a sleep effort. So things like meditating to try to make sleep happen, changing our diet to see if that improves our sleep, or engaging in vigorous exercise in an attempt to make sleep more likely, are all, in this context, sleep efforts. Ultimately, this all comes down to what our intentions are. Relaxation is good for relaxation, and eating better and exercising are good for our overall health. So in this context, practicing relaxation, eating well, and exercising are good. But if you're doing these things with the specific goal of generating sleep, then they are sleep efforts. Only two conditions are needed for sleep to happen. We need to be sleepy enough for sleep. In other words, we need to be awake for long enough. And we need to be in a state of low mental arousal. In other words, our mind needs to be calm and relaxed. Putting effort into sleep requires mental arousal, mental effort, and this immediately makes sleep more difficult, regardless of how long we've been awake. Engaging in behavioural sleep efforts requires mental arousal too, because the brain needs to stay active to monitor for the effects of the sleep effort. So if we want to improve sleep, we need to stop trying to sleep. Sleep doesn't happen when we try to sleep. Sleep happens when conditions are right for sleep. One reason why we can be so tempted to put effort into sleep, to try to sleep, is because we fear the consequences of poor sleep. This brings us to the next barrier to consistently good sleep: safety behaviours. We typically implement safety behaviours to protect us from a perceived threat. When it comes to sleep, we might implement safety behaviours such as calling in sick to work after a difficult night or a string of difficult nights because we're worried that we'll make mistakes or not be productive. We might cancel plans with friends because we think there's no way we'll be able to enjoy ourselves, or that we might even embarrass ourselves. We might actively try not to think about sleep. We might reach for a sleeping pill if we don't fall asleep shortly after getting into bed, or if we wake and don't fall right back to sleep. Another common safety behavior is just the act of putting our lives on hold. We might, for example, be putting off that dream vacation because we fear that travel might make our sleep even worse, or that if we can't sleep on vacation, the entire trip will be awful and a big waste of money. The problem with safety behaviors is that although they can make us feel better at the time, because we might feel safer by implementing them, they reinforce the belief that wakefulness is something we need to fear or to be concerned about. In other words, by implementing safety behaviors, we can train ourselves to believe that we cannot cope with sleep loss. We can train ourselves to believe that poor sleep always has a negative outcome. We can also fail to give ourselves the opportunity to experience positive moments or good days after difficult nights. The result is that ultimately safety behaviors make us feel worse over the long term. We end up increasing mental arousal and perpetuating sleep disruption. So the key to improving sleep for the long term is to abandon all effort to sleep. Avoid trying to sleep. Give yourself the opportunity to sleep, but don't actively try to make it happen. If your body needs to sleep, and if conditions are right for sleep, you will sleep. If you try to get involved in the process, sleep will be far more difficult. Next, abandon all safety behaviors related to sleep. It can be helpful to identify safety behaviors you're engaging in and then challenge the beliefs behind them. For example, if a safety behavior is calling in sick to work after poor sleep because you believe you'll make a huge mistake that might get you fired, ask yourself how accurate this belief really is. How likely is it that you really will make a mistake that will get you fired? Have you ever gone to work after a difficult night and been surprisingly productive? Next, give yourself the opportunity to prove the belief wrong. So instead of calling in sick to work, go to work. Give yourself the opportunity to recognize that just because you had a difficult night or a string of difficult nights, you might still have a reasonable or even a good day, that you might be somewhat productive, and that you probably won't get fired. Ultimately, if you can challenge and then abandon safety behaviors, you train yourself to recognize that wakefulness and sleep loss isn't something to be feared. This reduces arousal and reduces the temptation to put effort into sleep. If you can get to a point where you're able to abandon all effort to sleep and you're able to abandon all safety behaviors, you create the best conditions for sleep to happen all by itself. So I hope you found this short video helpful. If you did, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I do try and share a new sleep snippet video every week. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, or suggestions for a future video, please leave a comment below, or you can email me directly. My email address is hello@insomniacoach.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'd like to leave you with this important reminder. You can sleep.